You remember the Tush Push, the play that turned goal line football into a low-tech superpower? Last season, it felt unstoppable. 3 linemen, a shove, 2 yards, touchdown. Coaches schemed for it, commentators debated banning it, and teams built packages around it. Then the Bears walked into Lincoln Financial Field and did something almost elegant. They didn't outmuscle the Tush Push. They outsmarted it. And if you're a coach, a player, or an armchair tactician, you should be paying attention. Picture this. 3rd and 1 at the Bears' 12. The Eagles call the Tush Push, the play that has been a near automatic yard getter for them. Everyone in the crowd expects the same shove forward script. Instead, Nahshon Wright doesn't slam forward into the pile like everyone else. He hesitates, he finds a lane, he goes straight for Hurts' arm and the ball. He strips it clean, he stands up with the football. The entire stadium does a double take. That one split-second choice changed the game. The Bears flipped field position, chewed clock with a 12-play drive, and turned a tense, grinded-out afternoon into control. Chicago won 24-15. The headlines will rightly praise the run game, the 2 backs with 100 yards, and a rookie quarterback who didn't try to be a hero. But the pivot, the actual chess move, was Wright's play. It was pocket awareness turned into a targeted counter. It was defense as punctuation, not just prevention. So how did the Bears solve it? Simple in theory, nuanced in execution. They treated the Tush Push not as an impenetrable shove, but as a situation with a predictable geometry, an overloaded box with a pushed forward center of gravity and a quarterback who's going to be engaged by momentum. Instead of committing everyone to the pile, they assigned a defender, Wright, a corner, whose job was to read, delay, and then shoot the interior gap to attack the ball, not merely the body. He didn't try to grab ankles. He navigated to the path of least resistance and targeted the object of possession. That hesitation is the key. If you fly in like everyone else, you become part of the pile, and you're unlikely to create separation to see the ball. Hesitate for a split second to let the wave of bodies clear a path, then explode into the scrum and strip. It's a small timing window, but it's repeatable if you train it. That makes the supposed certainty of 3rd and 1 suddenly less certain. There are reasons this works beyond pure timing. The Tush Push depends on mass and leverage. It's an aggregate of force play. If all you do is push collectively, the offense wins by numbers. But mass has a consequence. Its center is predictable, its flow is forward, and the quarterback who leans into the push exposes the ball. By prioritizing a defender whose primary mandate is to hunt the ball rather than absorb force, you exploit the play's mechanical weakness. You're not trying to win the shove, you're aiming to win the possession. Now, before every team's defensive coordinator calls up their GM and demands safe spaces for cornerbacks to go punching into piles, let's map the risks. Assigning a secondary player to hunt the shove leaves a gap. If the timing or read is off, you'll be cut up the middle for a touchdown because you've got fewer bodies in the pile. If you miscoordinate and the shove turns into a pull or a misdirection, that same defender can be isolated and the offense will convert cleverly. So this isn't a miracle cure, it's a tactical choice with trade-offs. What makes it viable is discipline, scouting, and practice. Here's how teams can implement it without blowing their whole short yardage identity. First, make it situational. Don't rework your goal line package overnight. Designate 1 or 2 personnel groups where a DB or a linebacker acts as the ball hunter. Practice the hesitation and shoot drill until it becomes reflexive. Second, film study matters. Recognize the tells: pre-snap alignment, guard footwork, backfield cadence. If you can reliably identify the tush push before the snap, you can align your ball hunter on the path Hurts will take. Third, situational counting. If you gamble the hunter on a false positive and the play is a quick pass, have a backside defender disguised as a run supporter ready to plug the lane. That's coaching detail, and it's what separates clever from careless. Eagles and other offenses will adjust, of course. If defenses start hunting the push, offenses can counter by misdirecting, faking the push and throwing to the weak side, or running a quick ISO to the edge. They can alter personnel to add an extra body whose job is to peel off and protect the ball, or they can change cadence to freeze the hunter. It's a chess match. But here's the point. You want those adjustments on tape. You want your opponent to stop and think about counters. That fracturing is a strategic win in itself. There's a cultural angle here, too. The tush push became a conversation because it was efficient and ugly, too effective for its own good. The league debated its legality, fans debated its fairness, and everyone adjusted. What the Bears did is a reminder that innovation in football doesn't always look flashy. Sometimes it's a small timing tweak, a role reassignment, a 2-second hesitation that turns an automatic into a teachable moment. Coaches who prize creativity in the trenches will notice that the big gains in modern football are often found in these micro adjustments. For players, the message is visceral. Keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize isn't just the man in front of you, it's the ball. Line play teaches you to battle at the point of attack, but possession football teaches you to secure and then finish. Nahshon Wright didn't win by being the biggest guy on the field, he won by being the smartest in that moment. Scouts and coaches should internalize that. Athleticism helps you get there. Brains help you see the lane. If you're a fan, this is a beautiful little reminder of why we love football. It's a sport of angles and leverage, of brute force and quiet cunning. The tush push went from a novelty to a meta tactic. The Bears turned the meta on its head with a micro innovation. That's the sort of thing that reshapes conversations overnight. So what should teams do next week? Film the play. Run the drill. Assign a ball hunter in controlled reps and track success rates. If your opponent relies on the shove, you now have a counter to bait them into changing their script. If they don't, congratulations, you've emptied a tool from their toolbox. Win either way. And for Eagles fans or anyone invested in preserving a short yardage edge, don't panic. The counter is beatable if you evolve. Slide protection, quicker snaps, ball security drills, and an extra lead blocker on the QB can blunt the hunter. The cat and mouse will continue. That's the sport. In the end, the moment that mattered in Chicago wasn't the big touchdown or the stat line. It was the quiet theft of a play everyone assumed was automatic. Nahshon Wright walked out of a pile of bodies with the ball, and in doing so, he handed his team the playbook's next footnote. If you're a coach, that's a file you copy and study. If you're a player, it's a drill you run until it becomes muscle. And if you're a fan, savor it. Football's greatest innovations are sometimes the smallest ones. You've seen the highlights. Now let me paint the whole picture. On Black Friday in Philadelphia, the Bears didn't just stop the Eagles' trademark tush push. They rewired the play's blueprint in real time, ripped the ball away, and turned what's supposed to be an automatic inch into a momentum earthquake. The turnover didn't come from luck. It came from preparation, discipline, and one cornerback who decided to hunt the football instead of getting buried in the pile. NFL.com Chicago turned a tense 3rd and 1 at the Bears' 12 into the game's decisive swing. Jalen Hurts lined up his familiar shove, 3 linemen and 2 pushers behind him, the look that last season sometimes felt unstoppable. And the Bears defended it exactly the way you'd want a defensive staff to. Gap discipline, eyes on the ball, and a plan. Nahshon Wright didn't dive into the scrum expecting to be part of a wrestling match. He hesitated long enough to find a lane, attacked Hurts' torso, ripped the ball free, and came up with the scoop. Replay shows it clean as day. Not a fluke, but a perfectly timed heads-up play. NFL.com, that turnover changed everything. Chicago turned the takeaway into an 87-yard clock-chewing march that flattened Philly's momentum and expanded the scoreboard gap. 2 backs who'd been dominant all afternoon, D'Andre Swift and Kyle Monangai, carried the load, and the Bears turned field position into points with surgical patience. The result, a 24-15 upset that looked easier than the final box score suggested. When a self-styled automatic short yardage play gets stripped and returned to square one, you don't just win a series, you rewrite the psychological ledger of the game. Reuters. Let's be blunt. The tush push didn't die on a single coaching tweak. It was neutralized by fundamentals. Chicago didn't overcommit to wrestling or blitzing. They set the edge, maintained leverage, and crucially, taught a player to do something most defenses won't. Attack the football on the quarterback. That's a difference between playing the play and playing to stop the play. The Bears' approach turned an expected yard into a cautionary tale for every team that faces the tush push going forward. If more teams assign a disciplined skittering defender to locate the ball rather than pile in blind, the whole league will have to adapt. SI. You also can't talk about what happened in Philly without talking about physical dominance. Chicago's ground game was relentless, 281 rushing yards, two backs each topping 100 yards. And that's not coincidence. It's scheme meeting execution. The Bears attacked the edges, won initial blocks, and let their runners find space. When you control the clock the way they did, you keep the opponent's offense cold on the sideline and you force them into a grind. The Eagles' defense had looked solid in previous weeks, but on this afternoon, they were steamrolled. That's as simple and as brutal as it looked on the stat sheet. Reuters wrote. For Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, this loss screamed wake-up call. Philly mustered just 2 first downs before halftime and lasted only 9 minutes of possession in the first 30. A.J. Brown still produced, and his effort was real, but the supporting mechanics weren't. An offense that thrived by imposing will last season suddenly looked out of rhythm, missed timing routes, guarded run lanes, and a failure to close drives. When your best short yardage play becomes risky and you can't sustain drives, you no longer control the narrative. Fans noticed fast. Boos and early exits showed how quickly frustration turns into judgment. Philadelphia Eagles coaching will get its share of scrutiny. Nick Sirianni's defense of Kevin Patullo's play calling is understandable. Continuity matters. But you can't paper over a night where the opponent bullied your front and stripped your signature play. This isn't necessarily about changing the play caller tomorrow. It's about tightening fundamentals, reworking short yardage protections, and coaching quicker recognition for when defenders are hunting the ball. If the Eagles want to protect their Super Bowl blueprint, they need fixes that are practical and immediate, not just philosophical. ESPN.com, here's the practical takeaway for other teams. The Tush Push's vulnerability isn't theoretical. It's mechanical. Don't let the quarterback become a ball protector who's safe by virtue of being buried. Assign a player with